Hello, everybody. Tracy, Mrs. JDog Flanagan with you here today. Welcome back to another episode of Tactical Treasures Podcast, sponsored by the JDog Foundation. Our podcast gives veterans, male spouses, active duty members, military family members, and patriotic military supporters a voice in the veteran space to speak about their service, how they're affecting their communities post-service, and they share with me a tactical treasure that has shaped their journey in their military career, business, or life. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Rob Guillory, who served as an officer in the Navy Nurse Corps from 2005 to 2010 and was honorably discharged as a lieutenant. Rob served at Camp Lejeune, where he worked as an ER, ICU, and flight nurse, deploying with 2-2 Marines to Iraq in 2007 and 2008. Currently, Rob serves as the outreach director for the Moss Rehab Institute for Brain Health. Since leaving the military, Rob has worked in various capacities of nursing and healthcare administration. He has helped lead numerous organizations in change management and national growth through utilization of skills honed in the military. In his current role, Rob oversees the community outreach, involvement, and growth strategy of Moss Rehab Institute for Brain Health. MRIBH is part of the national nonprofit Avalon Action Alliance, connecting veterans and first responders with life-changing traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress care. Hello, Rob. Welcome to the podcast, and thank you so much for your service to our country.
Thanks, Tracy. I'm very glad to be here. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, I'm very excited for our discussion today. But before we get into all that, I would first like to ask you, what inspired you to join the Navy?
So my grandfather was actually in the Army, and I didn't have any other relatives in the military. And so when I was looking at kind of what I wanted to do after high school, my parents and I just had some good, healthy conversations, and I really wanted to do something for sports. They kind of helped grounded me, and we're like, you're probably not going to make a lifetime career out of that. So I always wanted to do something in the medical field, and spoke to a great Navy recruiter who was like, yeah, if you want to be in the medical field, we can get you into nursing almost guaranteed. And so from there, it just kind of everything took off, fell into place, and all of it was, just kind of following dreams at that point.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's really awesome. So is there a particular aspect or moment from your service that stood out as impactful in a positive way for you?
Yeah, actually, so I joined, like I said, 2005 and was deployed 2007, 2008. So I was a very young nurse. Not only was I new to the military, but new to nursing. And so being able to be out in an operational capacity, which is what I wanted to do when I joined the military, doing field medicine, rescuing folks, stabilizing care, putting them in a helicopter, flying them to a higher echelon of care, all of that stuff just kind of helped me really put into perspective not only my own life, but my family life, and just things like that to value the time that I have. So I would say my early career, witnessing a lot of very traumatic incidents and injuries and things like that really helped me to appreciate kind of everything that I have and want to help to kind of, give back. I serve as being a veteran, but also serve as being a nurse in the medical community. So all of those things, I constantly feel like I have that ability to give back. But that instance kind of early on, very, very young as a nurse, kind of helped me shape how I, feel and think about helping other people.
Wow. Yeah. What an incredible experience that must have been. And unfortunately, seeing a lot of trauma, but being there and being able to make a difference, I'm sure really meant a lot. I used to be in the medical field myself. I was a cath tech, and I did ambulance work as a EMT for a while, and I always found that so rewarding to be able to help people in, very precarious situations and really make a difference.
Absolutely.
It was very rewarding for me.
Yeah.
Um, so you got out. I would love to know kind of what your transition was like. Did you go to Moss Rehab right away, or how did all that come about?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. I've actually joined Moss within the last year. It's fairly new. The Avalon Action Alliance, which is the national nonprofit that helps support us, they've been around for a while, but our location in Moss, up in the Willow Grove, Pennsylvania area, has only been around since about 2023. So when I got out of the military in 2010, there was a lot of groups who were just transitioning to electronic health records. A lot of people were still on paper records, believe it or not. Uh,
Right.
and so I was just, I was usually dubbed as like a trainer or somebody who was helping doctors and other nurses learn how to use a new EMR or transition to that. So a lot of what I did was education and training, but also a lot of like business development in the sense of, medical practices acquiring other medical practices and then making them move on to their software system. So I did a lot of that kind of stuff. And so it kind of opened my horizons to all different opportunities and things like that. I always wanted and had been looking for some time after leaving the military to either get back in the VA or something to do with the veteran community. And this opportunity with Moss Rehab Institute for Brain Health came about in the last year, and it's been, I mean, a true blessing for myself. As a veteran and a nurse, I get to serve both of those communities, give back. I'm talking on the phone with people just about every day, explaining the program to them or going to events and explaining the program, how it helps veterans. And so all of that, as far as my kind of leadership roles and things like that, all just kind of led to, a opportunity that addresses all the things I've experienced in the past.
Right. Wow. That's really neat. So could you just talk to me kind of about what your duties there are as an outreach director, and then I would kind of like to understand how the partnership works with Avalon Action.
Sure, absolutely. So Avalon Action Alliance is the national nonprofit, and so it was founded by the two gentlemen who founded the Home Depot. So Arthur Blank and Bernie Marcus, who Bernie Marcus unfortunately passed away this past year. But those two individuals took a lot of that money from Home Depot and put it into the philanthropic effort of giving back. And they've gotten other folks on board like Gary Sinise Foundation, things like that, as they all recognize that there was a gap in medical care for traumatic brain injuries and post-traumatic stress. So what they did is they aligned a number of different alliance partners across the country to all help. So Moss Rehab Institute for Brain Health is one of 6 traumatic brain injury centers nationally. There are also 11 post-traumatic injury or post-traumatic stress locations nationally, and then 2 substance use centers nationally. So all of them are interconnected through this alliance network so that we can inter-refer, folks. And so if somebody needs to get their substance abuse under control before they deal with their post-traumatic stress or their traumatic brain injury, then we can facilitate that through this alliance. So the alliance really helps kind of close a lot of gaps and helps keep everything interconnected. And then
Yes.
our group, is everything is veteran based. Everybody has veterans in their group, but it is fully vetted medical personnel. So we have doctors, we have nurses, we have case managers, physical therapy, occupational therapy. So it's really a very well-rounded program that's kind of modeled after the Intrepid Center that really helps kind of focus on the entirety of the patient. And then, like I said, helps navigate them through the network, understanding that most people who have one of these issues likely have 2 or 3 of the same issues that need addressed.
Right, right. So how does a patient find you or a veteran find you? Do they find you first, or do they find the Avalon Action Alliance first, and then they do an assessment, and then they say, oh, well, you have symptoms of TBI. We're going to send you to Moss Rehab. I guess help me understand how the whole process works.
Sure, absolutely. So if you think about it as a civilian, kind of like your current medical referral process, some folks will find us because they will be at the VA, or they'll be a firefighter or a policeman who's at their primary care doctor, and that group will happen to have, they'll know about us, or they will have referred a previous patient to us, so they'll get referred that way. But a lot of other folks, they just happen to know somebody who's gone through one of our programs, either one of the PTS centers or one of the traumatic brain injury centers. And by word of mouth, they will find us through that. And then they will end up in the program. So word of mouth is huge, for us. But then we
Right.
also go out to a lot of, so we do events like this on the podcast. But each of our locations will also go out and we'll do community events with the VA, with other local medical groups. We'll also do other veteran organization type things to help kind of spread the word and help educate people. And
Okay.
then once they do find us, that process, like you mentioned, there's usually an intake questionnaire where they'll complete some basic information. We have nurse navigators who will then help get the information from their medical records, whether that's the VA or whether that's their civilian practice. And then that way we can do an evaluation. So for the TBI side, they'll have a 3-day evaluation where they'll see all of those clinical specialties like physical therapy, occupational therapy that I mentioned, and they'll evaluate whether or not they're a good fit for a full 3-week program. And if they meet the criteria for that 3-week program, that basically is about the same as getting 6 to 8 months of medical care in that 3-week timeline. Because you
Wow.
can imagine if you get a referral for physical therapy, you might go once every other week or once
Right.
a month, whereas they'll see those people every other day for the course of 3 weeks, and they'll see 6 other providers during that same time frame. So it's really kind of a thorough process where they have all-encompassing care that happens there. So our TBI centers function that way. Our post-traumatic stress centers are focused around the concept of post-traumatic growth, and so those are all veteran led. So they'll have an on-site component, and then afterwards they'll have a virtual component where they follow on with those folks afterwards. And then similarly, our substance use centers will do the same. They'll have they have detox if need be, but they then have like a 42-day program, which will then be followed up by up to 90 days of virtual follow through. So they still have that connectivity to stay connected to those groups and make sure they're following through with that care.
Right. Right. Okay. So do they start at Avalon Action and that's where the intake happens and then gets to you?
Yep. So they're kind of all interconnected. So if somebody lands on the Avalon Action website, they can actually start their process right from there. But separately, let's say they're from Pennsylvania or Delaware, they're up in our region up here, and they go on to our Moss Rehab. They can start the same process on our website. So the good thing about that network is it's kind of a catch-all, and then we have
Okay.
intake coordinators. So even if somebody is from Missouri or Texas, and we don't have a location in their state, we will find where the openings are the soonest in our programs across
Hmm.
that entire Alliance network, and then offer those to their patients. So they may be able to go to our Florida location in 6 weeks, but maybe they can go to our Pennsylvania location in 3 weeks. So then we work with them to understand what fits their life and their schedule, and then we'll plug them into the location that best suits them as far as timeline and location.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. So my next question is, I mean, this sounds really awesome, actually. Um, what about how are the costs covered? Are veterans, is it through the VA or their health care or?
Yep, great question. So we are not affiliated with the VA, but we do have VA liaisons, so we can get information exchange as far as like records and stuff like that. But what will happen is we will figure out what insurance they have during that intake process, and if they have that insurance, we will bill it for the medical services we provide for the TBI side. If they whatever is not covered by their insurance, we will then pick up through the Avalon Action Alliance. So it ends up being no cost to the veteran or first responder. So,
Okay.
it's not just the veterans that get it for free, but any of that cost that's there. We also, while they're in the program, cover lodging and meal stipends and things like that so that they truly have no cost. If we have to fly them in, like I mentioned, if it's somebody from Texas and we
Hmm.
fly them to Philadelphia, we cover that cost as well.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so it's great in the sense that yes, we're still utilizing the medical system as it was made to be used. If they have insurance, we use it, we bill it, we
Right.
provide those medical services. But if they don't have insurance, then the entirety of those bills are covered by the Avalon Action Alliance.
Right. Right. That's great because that's just an added stressor, on top of everything else when you're trying to navigate, insurance and what's covered and what's not covered. That can just add more stress
Absolutely.
to an
And
already stressful situation.
yeah, and a lot of folks, especially the veterans, they go to the VA and they start to learn more. But folks coming freshly out of the service, many of them they don't understand healthcare at all. I'm a nurse, and I laugh all the time that I don't know that much about insurance. I know enough to get by, but I'm not an expert by any means. But that's what our team is there for, is to kind of help them understand what do they have, what benefits, things like that. And so we'll make sure that those things get addressed and that they understand kind of how that piece all fits in. And then we have case managers on the back end that we recognize they're not going to stay with us forever. We're going to take care of them for a number of weeks, and then we're going to have to pass them back to the VA or to their private healthcare. And so our case managers will make sure that all of those findings, medication updates, therapy updates, all of those things make it back to their care team so that they
Hmm.
can continue the good work they've done with us.
Hello, viewers and listeners. I would like to introduce you to the JDog Foundation, which is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to the prevention of veteran suicide and the healing of veterans' mental health. 100% of all proceeds received by the JDog Foundation goes directly to several foundations focused on the mission of saving veterans' lives. Each partner is hand-selected by our executive director, Jerry Flanagan, with input from the assistant director, Tracy Flanagan, and the JDog Foundation board members. Our foundation's motto: saving lives, one veteran at a time. Go to jdogfoundation.org to take a look at everything that we're doing there and the organizations that we're partnered with. You can also donate, and there's also a support line if you're in need of help. Thanks. Check us out. jdogfoundation.org. That's really awesome. It sounds like an amazing program. And how many facilities are there around the country?
Yep.
You said did you say
There's
16 TBIs?
six
Six.
total
Oh,
TBIs. Yep.
sorry.
That's okay. Yep. And each of us has either one or two teams. So for one team, we typically do about five patients per month. And then while we're seeing those five patients in a cohort, we're also doing evaluations for the next group. So centers
Okay.
will keep their groups small. That way they can really have their focused therapy and really make sure that they're taking care of those folks. And then some of the programs that have been around a little bit longer, they'll have two teams, so they can see anywhere from 8 to 10 patients per month in that cohort. And again, at the same time, they're also doing evaluations to get patients into those next cohorts.
Wow. Okay. That sounds amazing. Sounds like you have a great system there.
Yeah, I mean, we really love it. Folks seem to, to your point, I think a lot of people say, it almost seems a little bit too good to be true type thing. But we bring them in for that evaluation phase. We bring their family into the process. We do education with their family as well, because there are a lot of questions about, well, what about this, and how's the family involved, and what about when we're done and we leave? So we really
Right.
try to answer all those questions beforehand and make sure that they're really comfortable in understanding that this is different than what you've done before. It's not the VA, it's not your private healthcare, whatever the case may be. And we're not meant to replace them. That's not what we do. But we're here to augment that and provide that, kind of intensive care for a short period of time to get you over the hump or get you through any, issues that you're having, and then hopefully find a better path forward for you. So we have testimonials all the time for folks who have come through the program and say, I couldn't function as an adult, as a human being,
Mm-hmm.
with where I was at. But this 3-week program has, literally changed my life. And that's why we use that slogan, getting folks to life-changing care.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Great work. So thank you so much for coming on and giving such a wealth of information. I think it's an awesome program and very needed and very helpful. We are the Tactical Treasures podcast, Rob. So, we've come to that time in the podcast where I need to ask you, what is your tactical treasure that you would like to share with us today?
Yeah, I think mine it's related to healthcare. And I think a lot of us, even myself as a nurse, when I was active duty, I didn't think about healthcare. I didn't think about insurance. I didn't think about the medical system. When I didn't feel good, I went to the hospital and everything was taken care of. I never saw a bill. And a lot of people they just don't fathom how complicated and complex that system is when they get out of the military. So what I would say is, when you get out, do your research, but also go to the VA. I think some people have this preconceived notions that the VA does one of two things. It does either everything that I need it to do, or I've heard horror stories and I don't want to be there.
Right.
But I would encourage every veteran, take the time, go talk to people at the VA, see if you're eligible for benefits. Do you have a service connected disability? Do you not? What can you use the VA for? What services do they offer in your area and things like that? If you don't invest the time and the effort into, even 4 hours over the course of a couple different visits of figuring out what resources you have available to you, it's always going to be a complex and complicated and frustrating situation, to be honest. So as a nurse, as a veteran, that would be my thing. Allocate 30 minutes, of research before you show up somewhere, but then go to the VA and figure that piece out. Because a lot of them have other community resource programs, things like that, especially in rural areas, that they just don't have great access to care. So my tactical treasure would be informed, be educated, utilize the VA to the best of your services, and then in the event that you need additional things, you need things that the VA offers. Some VAs have traumatic brain injury programs, many do not. And then again, do your research and figure out, who are the resources that I have. A lot of places offer, as we do, no cost, treatment, no cost support to veterans. So figuring all of those pieces out and utilizing things that are designed to help you as a veteran succeed.
That is a tactical treasure, but also very, very good advice. Because that was going to be my next question. Any words of advice for fellow veterans struggling post service? But I mean, you kind of just sort of talked about that very important healthcare piece. Would you have any other words of advice for transitioning veterans trying to figure out their next step in life?
Yeah, I think, utilizing peers and utilizing resources. I think a lot of us as adults, but especially veterans, myself included, we don't ask for help until we get to the point where it's like we need help. And by then it's kind of too late to ask for help.
Right.
So, you know, reach out to your friends who are veterans, reach out to, family members, things like that, and ask for resources. Just because you're asking for folks to, give you advice or to help you doesn't mean you're taking handouts necessarily. And I think as veterans, a lot of us are used to being the hero or the one who does everything for
Hmm.
everyone, or we're the resource, we're the one everyone looks to. You can't be afraid to kind of circle back and be like, you know what, I'm not the smartest person about everything, and anything. Uh, but I do have friends and peers that I know that I can use as resources, and use them before you need them.
That's great advice too. I like that. Yeah. Reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out and use resources that are around you that can help you transition and get to that next step in life after service. So I think that's great
Absolutely.
advice. Um, so before you go, can you tell us where people can find and connect with you, and where can they find out more information on Avalon Action Alliance and how to get involved in your wonderful system of care?
Yep, absolutely. So my location anywhere in the Northeast U.S. is our primary area of service for Moss Rehab Institute for Brain Health. So we are housed at Jefferson University out of Philadelphia. So you can search Moss Rehab Institute for Brain Health, and our location is right there. I will gladly provide my email and phone number as the outreach coordinator to select that folks can have on the site to be able to reach out to us as well. But then nationally, Avalon Action Alliance, like I said, their website, the ability to start care is right there on the homepage. And so I'll make sure that website URL is available as well. And so folks can have that from accessing the podcast.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Thank you. We'll be sure to get that information out. And Rob, I really appreciate you coming on and telling your story and sharing all that you guys are doing at Moss Rehab in conjunction with Avalon Action Alliance. I think it's an awesome program. Thank you so much for your time.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Tracy. Glad to be here.
Hello, viewers and listeners. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Tactical Treasures podcast. We just finished up a very interesting conversation with Rob Guillory, who served as an officer in the Navy Nurse Corps from 2005 to 2010. He is now the director of outreach for Moss Rehab Institute for Brain Health. Moss Rehab Institute for Brain Health is proud to be a TBI Center partner in the Avalon Action Alliance, the post-trauma nonprofit dedicated to world-class care and transformative solutions around brain health and mental wellness for veterans, first responders, and their families experiencing symptoms related to PTS, TBI, and substance abuse. Avalon Action Alliance connects our nation's veterans and first responders to life-changing programs. They are focused on changing our healthcare system by eliminating barriers to care, including geographical obstacles and out-of-pocket expenses. With our Avalon Alliance partners, we target traumatic brain injury, post-traumatic stress, and substance abuse. Avalon has alliances with 11 post-traumatic growth program delivery teams, 6 TBI centers, and 2 substance abuse treatment centers. To learn more, visit avalonactionalliance.org, or you can Google search Moss Rehab Institute for Brain Health. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget you can find Tactical Treasures podcast on all your favorite podcast platforms, including American Grit, our website, jdogpodcast.com, as well as our dedicated YouTube channel. We are now airing on Reach Across America Radio on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you missed that, be sure to join us for the encore on Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern. You can also find Reach Across America Radio on the iHeartRadio app, the Odyssey app, and the TuneIn app. We're also proud to share that our JDog Foundation is a Reach Across America sponsorship group. For each $17 Veterans Wreath that you sponsor, $5 goes directly back to the JDog Foundation, whose mission is to prevent veteran suicide and heal veterans' mental health and PTS. You can donate right now at reachacrossamerica.org/JDog. Again, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again on another podcast real soon. Bye-bye now.